good point. There's, pronunciations are really tough, particularly when we're traveling around the country. So first, we're seeing Gitaxian Probe right off the top, but the pronunciations of cards are really different, in different parts of the country, and you're going to hear a lot of different ways to pronounce people. And I usually like to try to be, real tolerant of different pronunciations, as long as we all know what we're talking about. The most egregious exception, perhaps, though, is jitty. People who say Umezawa is jitty are, it's kind of like, you know what you don't do? You don't move your jitty onto your Moira,
All right. So Jesse follows up this Gitaxian Probe with a Tundra and a Ponder. Looked at a hand of a couple lands, Matron, a War Chief, a Gem Palm Incinerator.
I know you're loving it.
A great smattering of history's goblins. Although most of them come from Onslaught block. That was when goblins got the largest shot in the arm of all time.
Yeah, no, and honestly, Jesse's deck is very similar. Only instead of a smattering of goblins throughout each of the years, he's playing with one blue card from each year.
One busted blue card from 1994 to 2001.
Yes, each year. It's like, oh, this year we got Brainstorm. This year we got Force of Will. This year we got Ponder. This year we got Daze. I love it. Just one blue card a year.
Yeah. So Noah picks up a Ringleader on his turn. In this Goblin deck, the difference between when it has Aether Vial and when it does not is night and day.
Yeah, it's always strange when they keep a hand without Aether Vial or Lackey. Those are their two good cards, right?
Yeah, although I think Lackey less so now, as so many decks are
plows and bolts and all that stuff.
1/2s. Deathrite Shaman has done a lot actually to damage Goblin Lackey as well. So the Vial, I think, is really the critical piece here, as you see Jesse with a Wasteland and a Stoneforge Mystic. Noah had already mulliganed, and so I don't think he was going to go to 5 cards looking for Aether Vial, but the difference in quality of draws is definitely noticeable.
Yeah, Goblin Lackey, unfortunately with square stats, Deathrite Shaman and Stoneforge Mystic, both capable of completely brickwalling him.
Yeah.
You ever notice how all the best creatures in Magic have either 1 point extra of power or 1 point extra toughness? Stoneforge, Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf, Snapcaster.
Yeah, just a little bit extra. That's
just
what
that
separates them.
That juice.
Yeah, just the juice.
Yes, because that's clearly what gets Stoneforge Mystic, is that extra, the 2nd point of toughness.
Noah draws a Wasteland, but he's going to be under the gun really quick from the Sumazawa's Jitte.
Now, does he have any? He doesn't have any extra colors, right? Like, maybe green for Tin Street Hooligan?
He has 2 Tigers and a Plateau.
Okay.
He has Gem Palm Incinerator to answer some creatures. He has 3 copies of Tin Street Hooligan in his main deck. So he has some ways to get out, but...
Man, you know what I like is his sideboard Ashen Riders. He just has 4 Ashen Riders in the sideboard.
Yeah.
That's pretty hot, just, I assume, against Show and Tell?
Yes. But with no immediate answer to this Jitte in sight, he might be in a lot of trouble. Noah goes and breaks his Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, the best he's got is Gem Palm Incinerator to try to stop that Stoneforge at some point, right?
Yeah. This list actually looks nearly identical to a Goblins list we had in Atlanta a few weeks ago. Down to the sideboard. This is very close to a 75 I've seen in recent weeks.
Jesse, not letting on the secret about red mana.
And Stoneforge into the red zone, and this is a bad sign, as it probably means True Name Nemesis is about to hit the table. Yep. And it does. And it's pretty entertaining to me. Goblins is one of the decks, if you're a deck that cares about True Name Nemesis, you're trying to attack on the ground. You ask someone, what are you doing to beat True Name Nemesis? They'll say, I play Liliana the Veil. I have Diabolic Edict in my main deck. I have a bunch of red elemental blasts, something. Goblins is the one deck that sort of says, well, whatever. I'll try to overwhelm it, I guess. They don't attack. They don't have a way to really get it off the table. They can't fly over it. It's just in play.
Hey, this is what's going on from here on out. Yeah, I like it. Oh, no, you know what they do have? Goblin Pile Driver.
Yeah, they can overwhelm it. That's the
Goblin Pile Driver, protection from blue, making it so the True Name Nemesis can't actually block it. And it's the primary source of damage, which is a very crude sort of way to solve your problems. as you can see from the artwork. I mean, that's the sort of time that people who use Goblin Pile Driver are on. Not a lot of Magic cards have protection from blue. I can't imagine that it's because this card was printed the year after Psychotog. And
yeah, I believe that is the story. This was an add-on to give it a little extra juice against Psychotog.
Well, they had to do something because originally Goblin Pile Driver was going to be a 1/1 for 1. Can you imagine that?
Well, it would definitely be significantly more powerful. Here comes Goblin Matron. I imagine Noah is going to be getting a Chin Street Hooligan here, but Jesse might fight over this with some permission.
Every time somebody plays that particular artwork of Goblin Matron, I always think it's a Gray Ogre. The artwork just looks so Gray Ogre-esque.
Jesse untaps and draws, commanding position, to say the very least.
Absolutely. Now, he doesn't have enough mana to play the Jitte and equip to the True Name this turn.
He will brainstorm, however. Finds another land, a volcanic island. His hand is just loaded. Multiple plows, a lightning bolt that can go along with his volcanic island. Yeah,
the True Name Nemesis is already just such a powerful, powerful tool to work with. The ability to Stoneforge down the Jitte is also, I mean, that's another powerful dimension. And then the fact that he has Force of Will available to him in case anything goes wrong, not to mention plenty of spot removal to ensure that he can make tempo plays. He is very much in the driver's seat.
True Name comes across for 3.
Jesse asks Noah, what's my name?
And Aether Vial off the top for Noah, a little late to the party.
So what do you think about these late Aether Vials? Because, yes, obviously it would have been way better to have earlier. But is it still a big enough threat to cause problems to Jesse? I mean, Noah's not going to die for several turns. He could potentially tick it up and make some uncounterable spells.
Well, here's the thing. I think that if Noah is able to actually fight over the Jitte successfully, if he's able to use his Chin Street Hooligan to destroy it, then we might have a game on our hands. But that Jitte is another huge source of problem here. It just suppresses Noah's board so much. You see a War Chief and an Aether Vial.
So this is what I always like. I like when they Stoneforge up the Jitte and then they just surprise Raw Dog the Batterskull.
Yep.
So that you just walk face first into it.
Yeah, but Noah's not in a position to play around anything at this point because he can barely beat the board, if that.
Oh, yeah.
So, see Lightning Bolt take out the War Chief here. End of turn. Stoneforge Mystic flashes into the Umezawa's Jitte. And now this is happening.
A lot of people don't realize Umezawa was not first named in Kamigawa. I mean, Toshiro Umezawa appears in the Kamigawa block, but Toshiro Umezawa is certainly of direct relation to the original Tetsuya Umezawa from Legends. Absolutely.
2 counters go on the Jitte. And again, Jesse was just pretty close to a perfect hand here. Force of Will to protect his Jitte. Plows as additional removal spells in case something goes haywire.
Here we're even seeing the Wasteland on the Taiga so as to make sure that Noah can't keep his Tin Street Hooligan if he casts it, and he can't protect it if he just so happens to have main deck Pyroblasts.
Yeah. And Noah is actually also going to just die fairly soon. Just from damage.
Oh, yeah.
This opening from Blue-White Red Delver on the play against Goblins without Aether Vial there's just not a lot to be done.
And it's so tough, too, because as much of a hole as he's been in, he doesn't really have any way of slowing the game down. Like, he cannot stop True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
He literally has to win the game before the True Name kills him. So it's not like he has 3 turns to draw something. He has 3 turns, and that's assuming the Jitte doesn't do anything. He has 3 turns to win the game completely.
And that's asking for a lot with active Jitte and additional removal and counter spells in Jesse's hand. Here comes the Hooligan. Jesse will brainstorm in response.
He's hoping to just find more blue cards so that he can pitch to force the will while keeping a force the will. Looks like he succeeded in this.
And he's going to force. And Noah, like with no follow-up, yeah, he's just going to let this one go. I like it.
So what do we have in the sideboard for Noah?
Well, are you asking what he has in his sideboard to answer True Name Nemesis?
No,
Nothing.
just for this matchup.
He has nothing. There's nothing in the 75. 4 Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, 4 Ashen Rider, 4 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Crozan Grip, 1 Rest in Peace. I think you're very likely to see the Thalias come in. There's a lot of cheap spells in the blue-red red Delver deck. It's not optimal here. It's not like he's playing against Storm, but the mixture of Thalia and the mana denial of Wasteland and Rashadport is a thing that matters against Delver on some occasions, especially when you're on the play. So I would expect the Thalias to come in, but the rest of the sideboard really offers nothing of note.
On the other side, Jesse Hampton has access to a Force Swords to Plowshares, very good, particularly against the Lackey, but very good for buying himself a little bit of time. And then his big trump, Grim Lavamancer. Now it's not it's not some kind of a hardcore lock. I mean, obviously there's a couple of Tar Fires, some Gem Palm Incinerators, but the Grim Lavamancer can actually threaten to rip Noah apart at very little cost. So neither player with a ton, but I think that the sideboarding favors Jesse.
Well, the bigger issue is Jesse just has so many cheap, effective trumps. It was always just a True Name Nemesis. Even True Name Nemesis without a piece of equipment is troublesome when supplemented by all the removal that Jesse has access to.
Yeah.
And any of these cards in conjunction with one another is just a disaster.
Yeah, and I mean, True Name Nemesis, perhaps the most, the most hated element of it, the reason why people are frustrated, regardless of anything else, is just the fact that it so thoroughly steps on fair decks. And this Goblin deck is the poster boy of a fair deck. True Name Nemesis ripping to shreds goblins. The one card goblins sometimes has that can actually compete with it. Warren Weirding, the tribal goblin edict that Noah appears to not have access to. Just a nice little feature. I wonder, because one Warren Weirding, I mean, obviously he would have to add some black mana, but one Warren Weirding would make the Lackey, I mean, the matrons have access to an answer to True Name Nemesis under at least some circumstances.
It seems like there is some merit to it. I mean, I understand Thalia is a really good trump in some matchups, and you want 10th Street Hooligan for obvious reasons. There's only so many of these dual lands you can really add to the deck. But
oh, yeah. I mean, you could potentially, like, cut your third mountain for 1 Badlands and just go hard.
Yeah, but a lot of these, a lot of the decks that play True Name Nemesis also play Wasteland, so that's not necessarily reliable. I am sympathetic to, I've been thinking about the same thing myself. Is Warren Weirding supposed to be coming back in these Goblin decks? Because, the Goblins deck, especially when it has Aether Vial, I feel has a lot of games against decks like Delver. You have Gem Palm Incinerators is good removal. Your ringleaders generate a ton of value. All the cards matter. It's just these games keep on getting stolen by True Name Nemesis plus equipment. It feels like maybe it's worth making some effort to shore up that liability.
All right, each player hoping for the usual spell that costs 1 on turn 1.
And Noah has 1 land and an Aether Vial, so I'm sure we're keeping this one.
As good as Aether Vial is in the modern Merfolk decks, it is significantly better in the Legacy Goblin decks.
Yep. And the Legacy Merfolk deck as well.
I mean, Aether Vial is a pretty nutty card in any deck that actually wants it.
Yeah. And it really polarizes your draws because most of the decks that are set up to, play Aether Vial, actually, their mana bases and the cards they're playing all presume that they have Aether Vial and they can't often function without the card. You see it a lot in Merfolk where they have 12 islands alongside
double blue for days.
16 Lord of Atlantis in their deck or whatever the case may be. You see 4 and 5 mana spells in the Goblins deck, so they're really leaning on Vial. And unfortunately for Noah, his was just tagged by Force of Will.
Jesse pitching a Meddling Mage, which he brought in just as an additional possible blocker. whatever you got to do. Plus, honestly, sometimes you just meddling mage their matron or their ringleader,
So
just for Val.
Jesse played a Delver on his first turn. Noah with just a Bloodstained Mire off the top for his second turn. Jesse now inside of his own upkeep, brainstorming to set up this Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, it is kind of nice when they go matron to just drop meddling mage. You know, they go matron, they're going to go get a ringleader. You're like, well, guess what? I got an idea of what to name.
I'm not a, you know, the issue that I have with meddling mage and Grim Lavamancer is just increasing your exposure to Gem Palm Incinerator.
Oh, yeah.
They're all fine cards, but I have seen people lose games to just, you know, a couple incinerators tearing apart that kind of draw.
Yeah, Gem Palm Incinerator, a very, very strong dimension to the Goblin deck.
Oh, I guess we're doing another, are we doing another sleeve check here?
Yeah, but those sleeves are very, very opaque.
Yeah. On the heels of what happened last round, I guess we cannot be too sure. Jesse plays an Arid Mason and attacks with his Insectile Aberration. Noah with no blocks, falling to 17.
Delver of Secrets is another one of those high variance polarizing cards where the decks that have it can be so aggressive if they draw their Delver, but often they just don't have any aggression at all if they don't.
They spend a couple turns spinning their wheels with cantrips, and while the other deck is actually doing real things. Noah with a third land off the top, Cavern of Souls, which is very nice against potential Force of Wills in Jesse's deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's really powerful to name Human for Thalia, but I think I would go with Goblin in this spot.
Yeah. See a Goblin War Chief. And Jesse just takes the hit, opting not to plow. Must really like what he said up top with that Brainstorm.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a Batter Skull. So he has Stoneforge Mystic in hand. So the sequence you were talking about before where they get Jete, you play around Jete, and then it's actually Batter Skull. Could be in play this game.
Oh, yeah.
So Jesse's going to break a couple fetch lands here. Finds 2 Tundras.
Zero fear, zero shame. I like it. Just go straight to the dual lands. Let the wastelands fall where they may.
Yep. I understand the charm of trying to add basics to some of these decks, but the problem is if you draw them, then you can't cast your spells.
Yeah.
And something's going to get wastelanded, so they might as well all be non-basics.
Yeah, I mean, when you got 19 land, nobody wants to draw the basic mountain.
4 of them are already wastelands. So Stoneforge Mystic enters play, Insectile Aberration across. And he'll finish up the turn by using Swords to Plowshares on the Chieftain. Jesse again in commanding position. No 4th land, but a lot of good action in Noah's hand here. A Matron, Ringleader, a Hooligan.
We do see the Matron. Is this going to find the Incinerator? The Hooligan. He wants to hit that Jete that he's expecting to come down.
And the Cavern of Souls is another really nice addition for the Goblin decks because, you know, now he can sculpt his game plan assuming everything is going to resolve as appropriate.
Yep. It also provides the green mana necessary to make sure that the Tin Street Hooligan can actually stick around if all goes well.
Yeah. Jesse casts Ponder. Looks like Grim Lavamancer, Arid Mesa, and Brainstorm.
Yeah, the big thing here, he has to grant Noah the concession of, all right, well, I'm not going to counter your spells. At least not one a turn. You get one a turn that I can't counter. He's got a lot of really good things going on. He's got a reasonable little clock on Noah. He's got the Stone Forge, which did not only find a Jete, but also is going to sneak down a Batterskull. I got to imagine Jesse's primary concern is finding tempo plays like Bolt or Plow.
If I was in, the biggest concern I would have right now if I was Jesse is just getting tagged by Gem Palm Incinerators, because his board is powerful right now, but also pretty fragile. If Noah's able to fight over the artifacts with 10th Street Hooligans, his board is susceptible to getting picked apart by Gem Palm Incinerators.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Wasteland would be nice to hit that Cavern of Souls to put counterspells back online. But as it is, we're looking at a spot where Jesse's likely going to power down the Batterskull, which means that when the 10th Street Hooligan hits, he will have the mana to be able to bounce and protect it. However, that's a much slower line than he would like. And if he has the Incinerators to hit that Delver, this game could actually have a little bit more up in the air.
So Noah simply plays a Goblin Lackey off of his Cavern and passes the turn.
Kind of an indication of Delver. I mean, of Gem Palm.
Let's see what Jesse's going to do. This is a chance for him to potentially land his unexpected Batterskull. And there it is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's fun if you can blow somebody out by the surprise block, but I don't think you can be that greedy here. Just start attacking. Make some progress.
And also force Noah next turn to spend his entire turn, or most of his turn at least, casting the 10th Street Hooligan. That could open the door for Anumazawa's Jite connecting, which forces Noah to respawn yet again. So the tempo and pacing of the game right now really favoring Jesse.
Oh yeah, very, very much so. I mean, it's a good matchup for Jesse anyway. And the way the cards have broke, and the fact that he hasn't had to play behind an Aether Vial all game. The Force of Will on that Aether Vial was so big.
And Noah breaking out the Tim Ayton Pro Player card. Tim in attendance, now working for Wizards of the Coast in the editing department.
Jesse declining the opportunity.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize this, but the Tim Ayton Pro Player card is the rarest of all of the Pro Player cards. Oh, that's actually true. The sheer volume of them that were destroyed intentionally.
Oh, come on. Come on.
No, I'm serious.
Oh,
Tim and his friends.
Oh, but
No, this isn't a
Oh.
beat or a joke. No, in all seriousness, they intentionally destroyed a lot of the cards, which led to a artificial scarcity of Tim Ayton Pro Player cards artificially.
So you see Jesse here attack with his Delver and his Batterskull. The Delver getting hit by an Incinerator. And this is, you know, sort of what I was alluding to before. This is kind of dangerous waters that Jesse is starting to get into. His board pretty susceptible to getting picked apart. See Tarfire in Noah's hand? I mean, he's got, you can feel it. He's starting to get a little momentum.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do about this whole Batterskull thing. The Batterskull's ability to balance itself is just a very real problem. The good news is he can Tarfire the Stoneforge to at least slow down the mana. But he has so many problems right now, and only 8 life to work with.
So you see Jesse respawn here to the 10th Street Hooligan, getting a land, presumably to bounce the Batterskull back to his hand. And you can see, you know, as anemic as Noah's board has looked at times with some of these plays, you can see when he's not facing down True Name Nemesis plus equipment, he's the deck is really able to shuck and jive with these honest decks. There's enough removal and weird little synergies and little bursts of power for Goblins to really hang with objectively much more powerful cards.
Yeah, it's he's definitely presenting a pretty respectable plan considering just how deep of a hole he was in. Here, Jesse has already shown he doesn't have a 5th land. A Batterskull might not come down. Now, Noah still has to power through this Grim Lavamancer, which is kind of a problem. But he is presenting a pretty big board. I think I even might have traded the Grim Lavamancer for the Lackey here, just to buy yourself some time if you're Jesse.
Yeah, and Jesse declines that trade, that allows the lackey to connect. Ringleader is put into play, reveals another ringleader, a pile driver, and a siege gang commander.
I mean, the only way you lose this game is if Noah starts, getting too much snowballing momentum going. I don't know. But of course, that Grim Lavamancer is such a powerful permanent. This is one of those real tough judgment calls that Legacy players are forced to make on the regular.
Yeah. Jesse's going to ponder. Looking at Bolt, Wasteland, Stoneforge Mystic.
It is a very delicate dance that these players are doing. Jesse right here has a lot of things available to him, but he is dancing, trying to be in the right place at the right time, avoid getting hit by the wrong thing. And it's like they always say about Legacy. Legacy is a format for people who like to dance in public,
Yeah, exactly. Jesse also might just be trying to set up a burnout plan.
Oh, with direct damage?
Yeah, I mean, Noah's pretty low here. It's got a Lavamancer in play.
That's true. I guess like
He's got
if he had a bolt and a snap, I guess he doesn't have snapcasters, but 2 bolts, that'll get it done.
He might have given up trying to win on the ground conventionally at this point. I mean, Noah's board is so advanced.
And Jesse dropping everything he has. I mean, his back's not against the wall by any means. I mean, he's got a little bit of life to spare, but Noah now has a ton of resources in his hand. How many 10th Street Hooligans does he have access to? Wow, is that 3 10th Street Hooligans in his deck list?
Yes.
Man, if he 10th Street Hooligans this Jitte, things are going to be a lot less awesome for Jesse.
Yeah. Again, the biggest concern, Noah's got to deal with right now is the life total.
Yeah, because that Grim Lavamancer is no slouch. I mean, if that Delver threatens to jump into the air and do 3 more potentially, and now, I mean, now we're already talking about 7 damage right there.
Yep. See a ringleader here.
Oh, that tar fire is huge.
Gets a tar fire and gets a pile driver.
So you can't let these goblin decks just start ringleadering. It just goes nuts.
Yeah, but the 1 point of damage here, even off that Wooded Hills, is significant.
Oh yeah, I mean that represents lethal. I mean Jesse has 7 showing if the Delver flips.
The die is cast. No attacks with everything.
Also of note, if Jesse doesn't block, the Lavamancer and the Delver represent enough that Lightning Bolt could be game over. But instead, he chooses to Lavamance. Actually, even still, Lightning Bolt could be game over. If he Lavamancers the lackey, he could still potentially do 2, knocking him to 6, the Delver to 3, and the Bolt finishing the job. How quickly the tides have turned.
Yeah.
Getting hit, I mean, it's been said in the past that Goblin Lackey is basically a 20 power creature. Like if it ever hits you, you are in just such bad shape.
I call creatures like that Battle of Wits.
Yeah.
And in Standard, I call Precinct Captain Battle of Wits. Because if it hits once, it's, if you untap with it in play on the appropriate turn, the game's over. So it looks like Jesse here is looking at taking the whole lump. 8 points of damage coming across. Let's see if there's anything to be done with this lackey trigger. Imagine we'll see something. It is Siege Gang Commander.
Yep. It's a pretty big game.
And Noah.
Jesse is now certainly dead next turn.
Yeah. We're going to get the official Cedric Phillips tokens.
I like it. Ah, flips him upside down.
Won't even give Cedric the honor.
The hate. Noah is not without a sense of humor.
Lavamancer shot, knocking Noah to 6. And now Noah debating if he wants to make use of that Wooded Foothills to tar fire something, but we know both creatures now represent lethal with Lightning Bolt on top. Noah mulling this over. This is sort of a frustrating match for Goblins, I would imagine. The first game, you just get colded by Trinity Nemesis. The second game, you're down early, you're starting to do the Goblin stuff, you're clawing your way back into the game, and then you sort of just get burned out.
I don't know. It's not over. I mean, there's no sign that Jesse actually has a Lightning Bolt. Now, is Noah actually at 8 at the moment?
No, I believe that was shown to a Brainstorm last turn. I think Jesse knows that he has it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, trigger the Delver. Is Lightning Bolt. And that'll do her. The Tarfire does not save Noah from this.
Well, Noah's at 8, right?
He's at 6 from the
Wow,
low incident of the
yep.
turn. Yep. So
Aggressive.
just a day late and $1 short.
So close. So close.
Jesse Hampton wins 2-0, Blue-White Red Delver over Goblins. Matchup's a little bit rough, and you saw multiple dimensions of it. Trinity Nemesis, Umazava Jete, Grim Lavamancer, spot removal, counter spells for Aether Vial, just the whole thing.